You're talking to the woman here who's not got one spare AA battery in the house, and whose every gadget is running out rapidly, and everything I try to do.
As I said, so one day you'll have a PA to take care of all of this for you, darling. But the pain of well, I don't know why you haven't got AA batteries, because they come from Tesco's on the weekly order.
Well, they would do, yes, except I haven't had one this week, so that's why. And I keep thinking, order it on Amazon, it'll be here tomorrow, and then I keep not getting around to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough already. It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I will have to go to the shop at some point.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
Good morning.
I can hear you mad old woman, trying to resist change down there with your ticket office at the railway station. Dream on. Dream on, love.
I just put on there. You do realise it's all rhetorical. Yes. I only get on a train about twice a year.
I went to put on there. I think I might have done. The Cherie Blair was done for travelling without a ticket. Whatever you do, even if the machine is not working, you have to be able to prove that you've paid.
Yeah, well, how can you if you have to get on a train and you're running out of time and there's no way to buy a ticket? How can you?
No, that's the point. You've got to manage yourself better. You don't want to run out of time. When have you ever seen me run out of time when we were going for a train or anything like that? You get time. And you learn how to interface with the machine. But I think that you'll find that in future there'll be a better way.
Right.
I tell you what, on the subject of petitions, though.
Oh, yes.
Every day there are multiple opportunities to sign a petition. I do think we're mostly wasting our time there. I don't think the powers that be are going to take a heapeth of notice of, if it's time to do away with the man that sells the tickets at Shoreham, the petition's not going to help.
Well, it did change their mind about the VAT MOS thing, though. They did reconsider it, didn't they?
Well, I don't think anything's changed yet. I think they've agreed to review it with Europe in 2029 or something.
Oh, right,
Nothing's changed. I don't think. I mean, it is. I suppose it is worth. I think you've got to pick your times. What battles are worth fighting?
Yes.
And when it comes to replacing one human being selling tickets with a machine, the writing's on the wall, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be so bad, Judy, if they replaced the man with machines that were constantly working. That's it. They are constantly out of order.
Well, then that's a problem for them. Do you see what I mean? They can't take away the man or woman unless they replace that human being with something that works.
Yes.
And I think you'll find that it'll be to do with. I mean, it's a bit like you can't park a car now without a mobile phone.
No, it's very true. Or a mobile phone that's got charge in it, but that's okay because you can have a charger in your car now.
Well, I do. I have a charger in the car. It's a system. We're always banging on about systems on here, aren't we? Yes. It's how to protect yourself from your own human foibles.
Yes, the system's all very well until you realise that a rogue teenager has borrowed, never stolen, just borrowed the charger out of the car.
Yes.
You can't legislate for teenagers.
No, oh dear. Well, there you go. I've never had to factor them into my problem, have I?
Yeah, well, okay. So tell me about your week then.
Well, it's the week after half term now, and I've decided that whether or not we're parents, we should have half term.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually.
Because then every 6 weeks we're putting into our diary a holiday.
On top of all the other holidays.
Well, we don't have many holidays. You don't have many holidays. I think the risk when you're self-employed is just to keep on working, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas I think we should all have half term or a few days off now, and to stop the always on thing. And I realised that, this is Own It, the podcast, your business and your life, and we talk about business a lot, but a few days off at half term when everybody else is off anyway, and you don't have to go away. You might go away. You don't have to. Just build in some downtime.
That want to go away at half term. It'll cost you more.
Well, that's true, but you can. There's some clients of mine who are away this week, for instance. They're just having 2 or 3 days in Norfolk. Lovely.
Yeah.
I think the thing, it's the disease. This is my antidote for the disease of always being on, which is what the gadgets have done to us. This thing of how lovely it is. It begins lovely, which is, I can run my business from my bed in my pajamas with my iPad. And then its evil twin turns up, and suddenly you're always on. You're never switched off. You've never got relief from constant checking, or just keep an eye, or just see what's going on, or just see if anybody needs me.
Yeah.
It moves. It offers the addiction risk, and then you never get any proper delineation between work, rest, and play, and then I think that makes you a bit of a nutter, frankly.
So how are you? So this is the back to Chris Barrow's year planner thing, isn't it? Where you get it out and you plan your holidays first. And you would sort of look and think, well, school term goes from January to March, and then the next one goes from April to July.
Approximately, yes. I think what the mums are doing that I'm working with, and there's quite a lot of them, and one of my new projects is all mum related. It's 6 weeks either side of half term, 3 times a year. That's 36 weeks a year, which I think is very appealing.
36 weeks holiday a year.
No, 36 working weeks out of 52
okay.
a year,
Okay. Yeah,
which I think is very appealing.
Yeah, sounds right to me.
It means we can have a life. It's got Tim Ferris opportunities in it.
Yes, it has. Yes, yeah, I like it. I like the idea. So this is another example of how bad a mother I was. Right, I never used to know when half terms were coming, but I think they must be listed online somewhere, mustn't they?
No idea. But it doesn't need to be literal. It can just be approximate.
Yes.
So halfway through what we all know as the spring term, which begins in January and ends at Easter, we have a few days off. And then same at the end of May when there are bank holidays, which denote when it should be.
Yeah.
And the same at sort of Halloween, isn't it?
Yeah, I like this a lot, and the reason I like it is because I realised that I've decided not to go to Australia, and even if I had decided to go to Australia, I would have struggled to do that because I hadn't actually booked all the time out in my diary. So obviously, psychologically, deep down, I wasn't really planning to go.
I'm not surprised. With the best will in the world, and big hugs to all of you Antipodean listeners. It is so far from here.
I know, so far for a week as well, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, well, unless you're actually married to an Australian or from there or something like that, and vice versa, obviously. We're the opposite ends of the planet from each other. I don't know that I would survive that journey unless I was in one of the proper planes with the bedrooms in.
Yeah, first class. Or do you
get into not even that. The ones that have bedrooms, like a whole
private
room.
jets. Yeah.
Yes, and you get into the no. There's a proper plane now that's got bedrooms in it. Stephen Fry was one of the first people to try it. And you open the door to your bedroom, which is like a little suite, and it's got a double bed with sheets. Well, I would just get into that and wake up in Sydney. That's the only way I'm ever going.
Well, I need to look it up now. So Stephen Fry's been on one, has he?
Yeah, but it's a lot of money, Nicola.
Yeah, well, obviously it's a lot of money. It's probably
You what?
Obviously, it's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's an obscene amount of money. I think when Stephen Fry did it, which was a few years back, it was about 12 grand. I think it's probably about 20 now.
Oh my God, it's bad enough going business class to Australia. That's about 2 grand, 3 grand.
Well, at least 3 grand, I would think. Yes,
Yeah.
And better than Scum, but not that much better when you're going that far.
No, exactly. Yes, it's a slightly wider seat, slightly more legroom. It did make a lot of difference going to America, though. I have to say.
It does, well, America's fine, and my Caribbean island is fine. I wouldn't go any other way. But Australia, you need special provisions. Either that, or you get off in LA for a bit.
Yeah.
And then you go on to somewhere else, get off there for a bit until you feel normal. Sarah, your sister's done New Zealand recently, hasn't she? And she's compared to you and I, she's a bit of a slip of a thing. So she could probably get more comfortable in a biz class seat. She probably went up the back of the plane as well, didn't she?
She was in economy, and she stopped in Dubai for about an hour, 2 or 3 hours, I think, or it might have been Hong Kong. But
Hong Kong, definitely, I remember. Yeah.
She just endured it and slept a lot.
I've been to Hong Kong, and that's a long way, and you think you're nearly there, but you're not. You are so not. Australia is tomorrow. That's how far away.
I know. When I saw it took 26 to 27 hours, I just thought, oh my God, that's unbearable.
The first time I flew to Singapore when I was a child in 1966, it took us 30-something hours.
And a child must be so bored.
Well, I don't think we were bored, actually. I think we did get off the plane in a couple of exotic places, somewhere in the Middle East that smelt of oil, and Ceylon, as it used to be called. It was Ceylon when we were there. It's called Sri Lanka now.
Yeah.
And they were very exotic places, in the middle of the night and refueling planes and that. And I think when you're 9, and I think we were 9 and
It's all
7,
an adventure. Yeah.
and our parents were with us the first time. But yeah, and the plane had propellers.
Oh, that is so ridiculous. I can't believe you even got it.
These are adventures, Nicola.
They still have propellers. They just encase them in casings so we can't see them.
Yes, they do. But it was a smaller plane. That's why it took 36 hours.
Ridiculous. I can't even begin to think about that. My brain just...
But not. I mean, nothing when you think about when people first emigrated to America and how long the ship took.
Oh, yeah, it was 6 weeks, wasn't it? Or something ridiculous.
A long time, yes.
Oh, my God. Here we go then. Let's try and get back onto business.
Yes. No, you tell me about your week this week.
Well, it's just been a catching up week, really. I've been catching up with all the people I met on the cruise and at TNC and all that business. And I've been doing webinars, and I've been being interviewed for podcasts, and I've been making introductions to people I said I would introduce to other people. Just, the sort of catching up things. I've just bought the notes, actually. For $60, you can buy the notes of all the how well organised is TNC, I tell you. So there's this guy who goes, and he's got a team of people. They all go and sit in each session, and they take notes, because it takes weeks for the videos to be released, and everyone is trying to implement all the things they learn. So for just under $60, you can buy a set of notes, and the bonuses are the notes from the previous years. Well, I'm not interested in that. I'm only interested in this year's. But I thought that's got to be a good investment, and what a great little business model.
What's TNC?
Oh, Traffic and Conversions, the conference.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, so it's their notes. I see. Lovely.
Well, no, it's not their notes as such, but it's this company.
No, sorry. What I meant was traffic conversion. I was thinking Internet Marketers Cruise when you were talking about that.
No, they've released the videos already. They're very efficient, that lot. But with such a big event, because it had 3 tracks on it. It had the agency track, it had the entrepreneur track, and it had the corporate track. You just simply couldn't be in everything, even if you wanted to be. So just to skim the highlights of what people thought were important in each presentation will be very useful for me.
I think $60 is a bargain for that.
It is, absolutely. I was very impressed with, and also the fact that you get previous years as well. That's great. So I'm looking forward to the videos, because obviously that's where I catch up with watching Gary Vaynerchuk's.
You mad old woman. I can't believe that. You've been talking to us on this podcast for months about Gary V and his Snapchat and all of that. And then he was there.
I know.
The CEO Kel said, I wonder what they all made of Gary V. And I said to you, is Gary V on? You went, no. And I thought, she's completely lost it.
Anyway, so it's been a catch-up week, and I've been to the gym several times. Phoebe is relentless now about making me go to the gym, and she's turning it into quite a lovely excursion, actually, because we have a good old chat about her future, and we have a bit of a laugh because we Snapchat on the way, and then various people Snapchat us back, and so it's turning into a really nice event. And I came out yesterday to find her tucking into a panini and chips after she just worked out.
Well, you do build up an appetite, don't you?
Said to us
to be fair to Phoebe, she could afford to eat a panini and chips, can't she?
She is whipped thin. And then she went on to eat a Thai meal in the evening. I tell you, I don't know where these children put it. I really don't.
Yeah.
They take after their father.
They're burning it. Good for them. And she's got a standy-up job, hasn't she?
Oh, she worked. Yeah, they worked their arse off. Someone did a
standy-up job
the other day.
Yeah, standing-up jobs burn a lot more calories.
Exactly. But yeah, I'll tell you a bit more about what's going on with them later on, because it's quite funny. So what's fueled your fire this week?
Sarah.
Oh.
My first proper client from our podcast. Yay!
Oh, really?
Yeah, somebody who asked around in January who for some recommendations for a UK entrepreneur podcast, was given ours.
Oh, wow.
And sent me an email immediately saying, I listened to you over the weekend and I want to become a client and I'll start on the 15th of January. Then she realised it was half term, so she started Monday when the children went back to work. Isn't that exciting?
Oh, Judith, I'm so thrilled. I really
Yes,
am.
am I?
It was a leap
As I
of
said to
faith.
all of my clients, only 60-something episodes before we got a return on our investment. But, that's the whole point, isn't it?
Oh, I've definitely had one before, but I'm so pleased that you've had. I mean, you've had people who've said that they checked you out and everything, and I get that all the time as well. But to actually get someone who has come from listening to us on the podcast, that is awesome.
Well, I think it's even more interesting than that, actually, which is if we hadn't done 60 episodes, when she asked around for a recommendation to a UK entrepreneurial podcast, she wouldn't have got ours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you see?
Well,
So I think what's important for me is how long. Self-employed people like us, creators, we're a bit inclined to start things and get bored quite quickly, and or say it's not working.
Oh yeah.
So if I'd said at any point in the previous year, this isn't working for me because I'm not getting any clients out of it, which, to be fair, was only one of our goals, not our main goal, then we would have stopped, and I would have never ended up meeting this person. So I think from here, it will only escalate, because the more we do, the more the reputation grows and the more the word spreads. And I think there's marketing in a nutshell for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, okay, so she would have come and found all the back episodes, but people wouldn't still be talking about it if we weren't still producing it.
Yeah, I agree.
People don't recommend old podcasts where there's been no new episodes for weeks. They recommend ongoing podcasts, don't they?
Yes, I mean, I think there's an energy to a live project, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really thrilled, because it was a leap of faith from you in some ways to give up, precious time each week, and you write the show notes and everything. So it really is a joint venture, and there have been times, I know, when you sort of thought, why are we doing this, apart from the fact we like it. And thank God we do, because that's what kept it going.
Yes, I think it'll be very interesting to see where it goes in our second year, which is what we've just begun now, really, because I think that the momentum of things grows.
It does, and we are definitely climbing the charts. Can I just put in a little plug at this point, because reviews make all the difference, everybody. If you're listening and you haven't given us a review on iTunes yet, just come to ownitthepodcast.com, click on any episode and scroll down, and you'll see a little link to a video that will show you how to do this whole reviewing on iTunes thing. It's ever so easy. It will take you 5 minutes, and it makes a huge difference to us, whether no matter where you are in the world. And we are steadily climbing the What's Hot charts. And my goal is to get in the top 40, because then we'll be visible when people first go to the management and marketing section. So that's my goal for this podcast, is to get a real genuine hit podcast, which I think, would be lovely. Talking of marketing in all ways, what's fueled my fire is all the new social media coming out. I mean, I know I got very, very excited about Periscope, and I'm not saying that Periscope's dead, because Gary Vaynerchuk started on Periscope. But the thing about Periscope is, as I've said before, it's too intrusive. So what most people are liking at the moment is Snapchat, Instagram, and I found this one for you, Judith, called Anchor, which is probably the only reason you'll ever be swayed by to get a smartphone, because I know you haven't got one, have you?
Yeah, no,
A lovely little app. Basically, it's an app that sort of turns producing audio, like you do with your 2 or 3 minute thing.
Yes.
It's something where you could just wake up in the morning or any time of day and you think, there's a great inspirational quote, and instead of typing it up and finding a picture and putting the words on top and doing all that business that you have to do for Instagram and stuff, you could just speak your inspirational quote into Anchor, and it would go on to like your own little radio station on Anchor, and you could do it all from your phone with no mess, no fuss, and then people could audio reply to you, an audio comment. And it's just great fun. So you could do, I don't know how long you get. I think it's very, it's quite short. It might well be 2 or 3 minutes. So you could actually just duplicate your, or even perhaps, I'm not even sure if you can upload or just replay, the things you're doing anyway on, what's that thing you're using?
Audio Boom.
Audio Boom, that's right. So for the sake of another 2 or 3 minutes, you could be spreading your wisdom onto another audio platform. And the app is lovely to use.
And of course, I do have an iPad, so if it's an app, I might be able to do it from there.
Yes, you would.
Although, to be honest, I don't find doing things easier from phones and iPads than I do from my laptop.
No, I agree with you. It's much easier because we're used to. I prefer to do complicated tasks on my desktop, I must say. But But when I went and looked at Anchor, because some of the big players are talking about it, and I didn't know what it was, so I did a bit of research. It's quite difficult to find it, but there it was in the App Store, and I started it walked me through step by step how to use it, and it was really enjoyable to set it up, because you set it all up by audio. You speak into it rather than typing. So for anyone who's not, and the interesting thing about this is, obviously I've been getting very excited about Instagram recently because of the Nathan Chan launch, which we're going to talk about later. But my kids are much more engaged in the idea of getting online with things like Snapchat, Anchor and Instagram, because they are not people who want to type up long blog posts. They're video and audio orientated. And I suspect an awful lot, there's a whole generation of people coming up behind us who will prefer to listen and watch rather than write. Sad as that is.
I think that is true, unfortunately, yes. Let me ask, so if Anchor is audio and Snapchat is video, is it fair to say Instagram is pictures?
Yes.
Or is Instagram audio, video as well?
You can put very short 15-minute videos on it, 15-second, videos on Instagram, but it is predominantly a visual medium, and it's very important that your visuals are nice or funny or interesting.
Yes.
But Anchor is just, it takes away all that. And if you like to listen, I mean, I'm not an audio person generally, despite the fact we do a podcast and I listen to lots of podcasts. But I just love the no frills thing of audio. And again, you've got the emotional component. I love the thought of being able to capture all my inspirational quotes I come across all the time in one place and be able to just speak them and put the emotion I'm feeling into it.
Yes. While we're on this topic of audio, there's something you've mentioned to us on the podcast before, and I don't think it's a video sales letter. There was something you told me about once, which was the easiest way of speaking over slides. Do you remember that?
Yes.
What's it called?
Well, the easiest way, I mean, is to get something like Camtasia or Screen.
No. There's something there's a thing that does it for you.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. I've got it. Hold on one second. Let me go.
I promised a client I would ask you today.
Right.
So
Let me go to my applications.
Okay.
I think it's called VSO.
And do you remember how it works roughly? You do the speaking first.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's called Easy VSO. Yes, here it is. Easy VSL. If you do a search,
which is video sales letter again, you say, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So what you do is you create your audio first. So you write a script or you write a letter to your ideal prospect, and you read it out loud, and then you upload the audio, and then you process it, and it creates slides out of your audio. And then you can go along and you put in where you want you upload your audio, it creates a transcript for you. And then you go along and you put in where you want the slide to finish. So, for example, if you're saying, welcome to clicksandleads.com, we'll help you get hot exclusive leads for your business. That would be the end of the slide. You don't want more than 2 or 3 lines on a slide. So you put in this, copy and paste this little symbol into where you think the slide break should come, and then you process it, and it creates the slides for you. You can doctor the slides to look how you want, and then it also you can play it back. And if you think there's too much words on one slide, you can break the slide into 2, and do all sorts of things like that. So it doesn't end up in a video in a sales letter format, does it? Or does it? It's just the video, is it? It's just it ends up as
video.
Yes, it ends up as video, but you have got a transcription there already, which you can then presumably export and send off to someone to make look like a sales letter.
Yeah, any idea of the optimum length for that?
Optimum length of what?
Of the video you might create using that app.
As long as it needs to be. That's the answer about video sales letters and sales letters. Brainstorm all your.
Me and my client don't want to use this for video sales letters per se. We want to use it for creating video easily.
Okay, I'm not convinced that that's the easiest way. I think
it's easier. It's easier than Camtasia. If you don't know how to use Camtasia. Neither of us are particularly PowerPoint types either, you see. And going back to Easy VSL, which I'll have a trial with, do you upload your own slide template?
Presumably. I don't do anything like that because I don't want to distract someone. I like plain white slides
Oh, okay.
with black
Okay.
writing fading in. But if you were doing it for branding purposes, yes, you'd want to do that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you can.
Okay.
It's a great little bit of kit. It's actually something you download to your desktop, and I think it costs about $30 or $40. It's dirt cheap.
Okay. Okay.
But I didn't find it easier in the end. I preferred to make my slides on PowerPoint and then read them out and record it with Camtasia.
Yeah, you see, I have no expertise with PowerPoint, and my client has, but doesn't like it particularly.
Okay. All right.
And I went, I remember Nicola telling me there's something where you just read words and and it's that easy
Oh,
video
well,
sales. I thought it was video sales letter, actually.
Yeah, get her to have a look. There are benefits to it, and I just don't use it often enough, to be honest, to be au fait with it. But
Yeah.
I've used it a couple of times, and I did like it.
A word from our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by clicksandleads.com. Clicksandleads.com believe in affordable traffic and leads for everyone. They'll set up your Facebook ad campaign, page likes, leads or remarketing, then they'll manage it for you. They'll even split test your ads and audiences to find the best performing ones. Game-changing marketing from clicksandleads.com.
Okay, so we're on to Client Challenge of the Week. And for a
Yes.
change, you've got no idea what we're going to talk about.
No, I haven't. Exciting. You're bringing it today. Good.
Well, it's something we've briefly touched on before, just recently, in fact, and it's something we keep coming back to. And it was something it's been prompted by my. I had a call this week with someone who I'm mentoring for the chamber, Worthing Chamber, and she's basically taken months and months and months, if not a year, to get quite a complicated website up that's cost her several £1,000s. And now it's up. She's doesn't know how to market it, so she's come back to me for mentoring for that. But the interesting thing was, I said to her, well, obviously you can go and, make contact with all the travel bloggers, and you can, share it on social media forums and all that business. But you are going to have to, if you want to get this moving quickly, you are going to have to spend some money on advertising. Whatever form that'll take, whether it's Twitter ads or Facebook ads or whatever. She's had a really, really good response with getting paying a tiny bit of money every day. I think it's about £3 is the minimum to grow her likes on her page to about 5,500. But she's very reluctant to invest £3 a day now in advertising the site. She said, I haven't really got the budget. And I said, well, how can you spend several thousand on the actual website itself, but then not think about the budget to market it? So the challenge of the week is this lack of knowledge about business, also referenced by the conversation I had with Mark in the car that we briefly touched on about Mark, the numbers he gave me, which is that you can, when you create something, when you create a service or a product, there's a cost of sale. So there's a cost of creating it, delivering it, and selling it. So sometimes marketing comes into that, and sometimes it comes into overheads. And then there's a wholesale price, which is where you put your time on top and a profit. And if you don't do that, then you've got a problem with going forward. And then you've got the retail price, which is what you sell it for. And then you've got retail plus tax. So, for example, VAT. And all of these things just combine into a lack of knowledge about business. And you're an accountant, and you knew a lot of that financial stuff, but you didn't know that I didn't know it. So how can a business owner only learn what they need to learn? Because if you go on some of these business courses, they just teach you about becoming a limited company and where to get your business cards printed. How would you think that a business owner could quickly bring themselves up to speed on the most important things they need to know?
I don't think you can, and I'll tell you why. It's a bit like we always say, they didn't teach us anything interesting at school. Some things we were interested in, but you when you become an adult, you think, I wish they'd told me how to buy a house, how to get married, how to get divorced, how to change a plug, and all the things that you learn in your adult life. And what they did do at school was they educated you so that learning new things, you had a skill in learning new things, relatively speaking. And I don't think there's I'm working. I'm going to tell you more about it later. But I'm working with a project which is about getting a new business up and running in 6 weeks. And I went to the first webinar on Sunday, and the newbies are being talked through a lot of sort of new business 101, which is about mission statements and vision statements and getting your name and blah, blah, blah. I don't think they're, everything we go to takes us back to the beginning, 101. You need to know this when you start. And it's all a bit hackneyed, really. I'm not sure that you do need any of that information. When the facilitator said to me, what can you give us to put on the slides to share about vision and mission statements? I said, well, I haven't really got either of those. I don't really believe in, I'm a bit of a rebel when it comes to received wisdom. And I certainly built a very successful business as an accountant. And in 1977, when I started, people didn't teach you about vision and mission statements. And I didn't need either of those to be successful, if that makes sense. So I think what I'm trying to say is that just like life, there isn't a place where you can go to speedily learn everything you need to know when you leave school or university as an adult. What you have got is the skills to learn it as you go along. So with business, for instance, at the moment, I notice there's an obsession about people who feel they need to learn things which in a business career spanning 40 years, I've never had need of. And I think, I don't know why you're bothering to learn that. You may never even need it. Let's go and look for that if and when we ever need it.
What but I think mean there?
Well, legal. There's a woman whose name who shall remain nameless who's teaching people about legalities. Well, I've never needed to know that. When I ran into difficulty, if I ever did, I had a solicitor who, for instance, helped me sell my business. And I used to take clients to him if they fell into difficulties with, say, lease agreements or staff disputes or something like that. You only need to know about the law if you ever run foul of it. You don't need to bone up in case you ever need to know it. So there's an awful lot of stuff you don't need to know. But if you're I do understand the thing. I wish you could teach me. I understand the concept of. I wish somebody could teach me the things I don't know that I don't know.
That I need.
But some of the. Yeah, but plenty of those you could get through life without ever needing to know. But I think that the information you need to know comes at the point when you need it. And you can't really get this kind of overview of life or business except by doing.
The thing is, it's the just-in-case learning, just-in-time learning rather than just-in-case learning.
Yes, much better, just in time. Yeah,
but the problem is, and I've experienced this several times in my business career, is not knowing what you don't know means that you don't, I'll give you an example. Mark convinced me in the car driving across America that I was charging too little for my services. Now, I feel quite comfortable at the level I was at, but he has convinced me that by going through how much it costs me to set up a client with Facebook ads and then how much it costs me a month to service that client, if you take my time into account, and that's another thing business owners traditionally don't do, is value their time. If you take my time into account, then I'm actually undercharging because I'm actually selling at at wholesale rather than retail.
Yeah, I agree with him actually. And then the other thing is, because you're quite an experienced business person, your time in that equation is relatively expensive.
Yes.
So if you trained up other people to do it, their time would be cheaper than yours.
It would, but I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to train up someone as well. I'm going to have to let go of the need for this to happen. Is to do the strategy of it.
No,
I think
strategy is thinking, and thinking is expensive.
Yeah, that's very true, Judith. But are people willing to pay for thinking? That's the question. Although a lot of people do come to me and they do want strategy thrown in. So one of Mark's great ideas was to include X amount of consultancy hours in each package, because there was one client who was demanding hours and hours of email replies to very detailed emails that was taking up hours and hours and hours of my time. But coming back to generalizing about this, there have been times in my life where I haven't known things that, if I had known things, would have made me make different decisions. So
and vice versa. And just hold the thought of and vice versa, because I want to come back to that in a minute.
Okay.
Say more about that. There have been times when, if you'd known, you would have made different decisions.
Yeah, here's another good example. Okay, and these are all important things for people to know that most people don't know. You may do. I didn't. Rich Sheffrin talks about how you've really got to take a salary as an owner of a business and you've got to, most people leave any excess in the business, thinking it will make the business more robust. But his point was, no, you've got to take as much out of the business as you can, as long as you then save some of that so that you can lend it back to the business if you need to. But his point was, if you leave all your profits in the business, it gives you a false sense of whether the business is doing well on a week by week, month by month basis, because most people don't have proper management accounts, which are different to your cash flow and which are different to your accounts that get produced at the end of the year. So his point is that if you leave all your profits in, it gives a false sense of security. So if you stop trading as profitably as you have been, you don't spot it. Whereas if you stop trading as profitably as you have been, and you have been taking the money out and putting a proportion of it aside, you've got a decision to make then. Is this business only just going through a temporary bad patch? Is this business, does it need changing somehow? Or am I going to lend this business a bit of money just to tide its cash flow over and then take it back out again later? But if you haven't taken it out earlier, over time when the business was doing well, you've got no pot of money to lend back to your business and you're dependent on the banks and people like that. What's your thoughts about all that?
I think that's a hack. I think it would be better to have proper management accounts and understand them. Now, when I was an accountant, that was exactly the work that I did. So I would go into businesses once a month or once a week or whatever it was, and they would get management accounts, and I would go to the meetings where the directors would learn what the 2 pages meant, and we would have discussions about how much we would take out and how much we would save, what's working capital, and what decisions we had to make in the business as a result of what the figures showed. I think that's a better route. I think Rich's solution is a hack for those who haven't got what you really need. And he's talking about a proper business. If you're a proper business, you've got to have management accounts.
Yeah. So okay, so let's think back to the Money Gym days. So you used to produce management accounts, and we all used to sit around and discuss them, and still we got to that point, which was okay. It was largely due to our external influences that meant we did a launch that didn't do as well by miles than what we usually did year after year. So how could because I'm still a bit obsessed with the hotel. I still dream about the hotel and how I could have done it better, and I still think about the Money Gym occasionally. So how could we have prevented that? How could we have seen that coming?
Well, I know the management accounts on both of the decisions you took about the hotel and the Money Gym wouldn't have made a heap of difference. I wanted you to keep that hotel. I don't know if you remember that, but I could see you just done the hard bit with the hotel. And the reason why you gave it up is you'd just fallen in love big time with internet marketing. Yeah. And the guests arriving at certain times of the evening and interrupting your working day and needing breakfast in the morning became a chore, an interruption to that. But I thought the hotel was a great business you should have kept. The Money Gym was completely different. It was done away by the credit crunch, and nothing we could have done would have prepared us for that.
Yeah. So basically that it was two external forces there, internal in the fact that I didn't want to run the hotel, I didn't want to work in the hotel anymore, and then the credit crunch combined with the recession and the credit crunch were two things. Everyone thinks of them as one thing, but there was actually two things, wasn't it, that caused everything to happen. So how is really having an experienced coach stroke mentor who runs a business of the size you aspire to run, is really that the only way to head off these problems and find out these things and learn the stuff you need to learn just in time?
I think it could be, actually, yes. And I think that's how my clients use me, because what I see happening, and my little audio boo today was about this in a way, it's about understanding the difference between self-employment and owning a business. So in self-employed, it's you at home on your own, exchanging time for money largely. And owning a business is something, well, no, I don't think, no, I think, currently I am self-employed.
Okay.
Even though I I do it through a business. Really you are too, because the majority, when Mark's talking about marking up your time, that's self-employment. A business is something which is a completely separate legal entity from you, which can be run without you altogether. And where I think a client grows up is where they begin to understand the difference between the two because of the limitations of the former, i.e., if you're just, even if you're outsourcing and so forth, if the main asset of your business is you, that's the limit.
Yeah, so I'm trying to make that leap at the moment from I've got the structure and everything, and I've got the people now, but I know that I'll always probably have to do initial strategy, and then my people will implement the tactics, and then I'll be supervising that probably on a weekly meeting where we go through each client's account and talk about what strategy we need to employ for the following week, if we need to change it at all. So I'm trying to make that leap at the moment, but it was quite an interesting experience for me being in a car with someone who has worked at the highest level in corporate and has actually done, the Institute of Management, Chartered Management, blah-de-blahs. He's got all sorts of things, and he was obviously taught this stuff about cost, wholesale and retail at wherever he was. So it was just interesting that I came across something that I totally hadn't known before.
No, and I think you can do a 3-year degree at business degree. I think one of my nephews did that. But it's useless without being able to apply it. And whatever Mark did, he was then able to apply it in corporate, and then able to extrapolate it into whatever it is that he does now.
Yeah.
But all of this is head stuff. What all our clients and you and me and our listeners, we're mostly involved in heart stuff, i.e., if the day dawned when you didn't love doing the strategy, that would be the death knell for clicks and leads.
Yes, which is obviously the place I need to get past.
Yeah, and that's what happened with the Acacia, and that's what happened with every business when I fell out of love with being an accountant, sold it, moved on, something else. There's human beings as well, and textbooks are great, and they teach you how it ought to be, but it isn't always like that.
Yeah, and that is the passion for what you do is, coming back to the E-Myth and everything, and also thinking about the kids, because I'll talk about them in a minute. The passion for what you do is what gets you off the ground, up and running, going with the business, isn't it?
Yes.
And there are people out there who just choose a business academically based on, the fact that other business, like coffee shops is a good example. Nobody could be passionate about a coffee shop, and apart from perhaps the original barista of Coffee Republic or something.
Well, actually, but I take your point, which is you're thinking that something like a franchise model, like say McDonald's, isn't a passion business. But again, I think they'd probably attempt to train the passion into them. The point I wanted to make was where education, knowing how things are supposed to work, does you a disservice. And I've got an example of that, which I'd like to share, if I may.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
This week I shared something on Facebook, which is a GIF. They're getting quite common, aren't they, when you press the little button and you watch a little video?
Yes.
And it was a really nice little thing, so lots of people shared it. And it didn't have any ownership on it. On the GIF, the slide, the picture, nobody had written their .com on the bottom of it, or their copyright or anything like that. And somebody said to me, what a shame I can't download that and put it on my desktop. And I went, yes, you can. You just right-click the thing and save to desktop and make it your background. And she went, I spent so long in corporate where I'm worried about copyright or rules or something. I couldn't possibly do that. And I went, I couldn't possibly do it any other way. If I saw something that I wanted, I'd right-click and save it. She said, you're such a rebel. I'm not a rebel. I'm just empowered to do. It wouldn't occur to me not to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because there's certain things you talk about that I think, I couldn't do that, because I'm there. Obviously, there's some vestige of the good girl who follows the rules in me still, which is why I think I'm still looking for the education on how to do business properly.
I think you're a lot more educated than you think. You've done buckets more training of all descriptions than I have. somehow, I think you've just got to flick a switch where you believe in yourself. There's evidence under your nose every day. This business you've got now is the best business that I've seen you have in all the time I've known you. So, you are putting to use everything you've studied and learned. And I think you've just got to start patting yourself on the back and not thinking that there's more to learn and more to learn. I tell you where there is more to learn. It's things like our conversation about the ticket machine at the Worthing station. It's that modernisation can't be stopped. So there's no point in clinging to our old ways if they're not going to be available to us anymore. So we have to adapt our learning, but there has to come a point where you go, I know enough.
Yeah. No, yeah. And interestingly, what you're talking about there with me is not so much a lack of confidence. It's the fact that, this is another thing that business owners, when they first start, don't realise, is that your business is not going to spring fully formed from your loins. It's going to have to be iterated, and it's going to have to be improved. And Mark and I talked about that as well, because he's constantly looking at his business and thinking, how can this be done better? And as am I. So every time I have, an experience in my business that doesn't make me feel so good or could be done better, I change how we do things. I change our systems. And that's true as well, isn't it? It can take 2 or 3 years to get your business running as you like. I mean, how long does it take?
At least. And I think you do make changes all the time, changes and improvements, because we change as well. And on this first call I went to on this group I'm involved with on Sunday night, they were talking about setting up their business name. And when you've got it, ask people what they think. And I went, no. Don't ask people what they think, because all it'll do, get used to being confident about making your own decisions from the beginning. If you ask your mother and your best friend and somebody's people, your boyfriend and whatever, people who've only ever had a day job, what use is their input? Get used to, all it does is split the vote. Decide, if you've got a name you like, we did it here a few weeks ago. You said, what are you going to call your talking thing? And I gave you 3 choices. You went, oh, I don't like that. And I went, oh, it's my favourite. And then I went, but it's okay. I'm robust. I don't really care what you think. It's my idea, and I'm going to call it what I like. So I was trying to, that confidence comes from years of doing it.
Yeah.
And just making up your mind that only you can make the best decision for your business.
That's very true, and that's a brilliant note to end on. Only you can make the best decision for your business.
Yeah.
By the way, I like big talk now.
Actually, it was Chatterbox you didn't like, and at the time that was my favourite.
Oh, right, fair enough. So what's your word of the week then?
Oh, well, funnily enough, given what you've just said, it's margins. And I'm working with a client this afternoon who sent me an email earlier in the week that says, can we talk about margins? They make me feel queasy. They don't make me feel queasy. I love margins. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, I think we should definitely talk about margins next week then, because I'd like to go deeper into that.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Well, that's very interesting, isn't it? That's serendipity at work right there. My word of the week is new, because I can't believe how fired up I am by some of these new social media platforms and how they've really really got me going again in the same way that Twitter did when it first launched back in 2006 or 2007. And I'm trying not to get swept away in the excitement of the newness of it all, and I'm trying to be, cold-blooded. And the fact that I'm going to have to pay someone to do most of it is making me really analyse whether it's just me, whether I should just get involved in one for the fun of it, like Snapchat, and then get someone else to learn how to do Instagram marketing properly, because there's a new training course out. But I just simply don't have time to go through it myself. I just simply don't. So I'm going to have to pay someone else to go through it and then implement it.
And do you think that you needs to be all over all of them all of the time, or just really rather good? Pick your weapons of choice and be rather good at those.
Yeah, I think you should definitely pick your weapons of choice. But I do think that with, for example, when I went on the trip, I wanted to be as efficient as possible because I knew I wouldn't be online much. So I set up a social media thing where I Snapchatted, saved the Snapchat to my phone. And then when I was at the hotel in the evening, I just uploaded the Snapchats to Instagram. And from there, it fed out onto Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, blah, 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 blah. Because as a platform gets more mature, there are ways to hook them up so they work together and you don't have to do each bit manually. And I think you also need to be excited about your platform choice. We both loved Twitter when it first came out, but it's getting a little bit boring now, although you can put pictures on it, so that's more exciting. But, we both prefer Facebook to LinkedIn, for example. I really think LinkedIn and Google Plus and some of the others have had their day. So, and it's important to be where your customers are. So I think it's important to try them all. And then if you naturally enjoy them, you'll naturally do it, won't you?
I don't think Google Plus ever had a day. I think it was a damp squib.
There's still people hanging on to it. Honestly.
Yeah, but it never really made any dent at all, did it?
Because it was really difficult to use. It was really unintuitive. Whereas this Anchor was really, you know, I sat in the lounge and set it up in 3 minutes because it was very intuitive to use. That's very Snapchat's not so intuitive to use, but the thing people like about Snapchat is everything disappears in 24 hours. So, you know, as Minesh said, if I act like an idiot on Snapchat one day, I know it's going to be gone by the next day. So, so I think there's definitely worth trying these things as you hear them, and some will appeal to you and some won't. So, and then you can narrow it down to the ones you enjoy.
Yes.
Project updates then.
So I started with one of my JVs, as you've heard me say. It's a 6-week thing 6 times of the year, which is why I'm excited about half terms. There are half a dozen startups, and the project is to give them a really fast start on that in 6 weeks. I'm just an advisor to it. I'm not the main person. We're doing 6 weekly calls on Sunday nights, which is strange for me to be working on a Sunday night, but good night for a mother, apparently, after the babies have gone to bed. We did those on a new platform I haven't used before called Zoom, which was very user-friendly. You can have like a video conference on there. I'm not quite sure what it cost, but it was very easy to set up. Even more exciting for me is not just the half a dozen newbies that are going through it, but I'm also helping the woman whose project it is to make it even better. So there's kind of a bit like in the Money Gym. It's not just about the clients that went through it, but about helping you make it better.
Yeah. Cool. And you enjoyed it? Is it all month?
Well, we've only done one. We started on Sunday night, and today's Wednesday morning. So it's 6 weeks. We're only 3 days into that, but I think I will. I met them all in this webinar. They're all lovely. Looking forward to it.
Okay, cool. Well, I look forward to hearing more about it. How's all your other projects going? Have you retired any of those, or are there any still continuing?
No, several of them continuing, but not prepared to talk about them today because I haven't come with the notes of which ones I'm still in and which ones I'm not and which ones are working and why.
All right.
Still dead keen on the lotto, and there's a couple of other ones in there as well.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm just continuing to refine my core products, the Facebook services, and I've just covered myself in blue ink, which has come out the end of my pen. I thought, what is that? And the Facebook ads course, I think, is just going to be there for people who can't afford the Facebook ads service. I have done a couple of podcast interviews this week where they've said they wanted to promote the Facebook ads course rather than the service. So perhaps if I get some good metrics, i.e. if someone sends me one of the women who interviewed me has got a mailing list of about 350,000. So she might send a lot of traffic, which would give me a really good conversion metrics on earnings per click, and things like that.
Yes.
So then I'd be able to go out to joint venture partners because the course itself is good, but I haven't really got around to doing what we were talking about earlier, which is either a video sales letter or a video or a sales page for it. So basically,
wouldn't a woman with 350,000 make an ideal joint venture partner? Shouldn't you have set her up as an affiliate? Or something?
I have. Yes, I have. I always do that for people who interview me. So if their links do generate any sales, they will get 50% of it. So
nice.
Yeah, and I've just been just tweaking, and it's lovely actually. I talked the other week about wanting to go through my funnel and looking forward to that very much. I haven't had time to do it yet. It's leisure time business, takes up a lot of time, doesn't it?
Well, it's very time consuming as having a life. Now, just let me ask a quick question. How much is the Facebook ads course currently?
It's several modules of videos, and it comes with 12 months support through a Facebook group, and it's currently $497.
All right, cool.
I've been experimenting at all different prices. People could get it for $97 originally, and then I've been edging it up and to see if it makes any difference in sales, and it hasn't done so. So That's what it's at the moment, and that makes it more attractive for joint venture partners to promote it, because if they're going to get half, then they're going to get $250, which is about 170, 80 quid, isn't it? Which is quite nice for a sale, and the support's all done through a Facebook group, so it's not massively demanding on me. I don't have to do webinars and things like that.
Yeah.
So, who or what's impressed then?
Well, a couple of clients who shall remain nameless both have a rather similar business model, and something that you and I both understand, which is about online marketing, and you send out the messages and the ka-chings come in. And one of them is a mum who was on half term last week, and what she did was sent her children to their grandparents, and she did 3 long days. And she said she did 3 long days and then had 2 days off herself, which was great, but she made more money last week. She smashed her target. And the other one was somebody who is brilliant, who does the marketing messages and then leaves the house to go off and do something else. And she went to France for a couple of days, and she invented a new affordable product and sent it out to a list. And she said the entire few days were punctuated with the little noise that happens when you make a sale on your iPhone. So, nice to be in France and knowing that the marketing you did before you left London is paying for your holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. That really is very cool. Yeah, so what's impressed me this week is a chap called Nathan Chan, who's a young chap from Australia, I think. And do you remember when all that business with Ed Dale was going around about creating a digital magazine? There was some Ed Dale training course on how to do it. Do you remember?
No, I don't know. Was Ed Dale not the one that sold all his possessions and went down to a backpack?
No, he isn't. But Ed Dale's the one who used to be Frank Kern's cohort in I can't remember what they called it now, the slacker's way to make money or something. It was very funny. The lazy man's way to make money. But that was back in 2006, 2007. Anyway, they sold that business and for lots of money to a British publisher. And Ed Dale's the chap who started the 30-day challenge, the Internet Marketing 30-day challenge. And it's been going very successfully ever since, and helping a lot of people get online, and completely free, and really impressive. But then one of the things he did about 2 or 3 years ago was when we were starting Raw, he started a training course showing people how to put together digital magazines. And Nathan Chan is someone who's a young chap. He was only young, and he started a digital magazine called Founder, Foundr. And that's been going great guns. He's had some really impressive people in the magazine, including Richard Branson. So he just really went at it like a train, and the confidence of youth and all that business. But one of the things he did to promote the magazine was really get into Instagram. And some of the results he's had are quite astonishing. He grew his Instagram account to 100,000 genuine followers in 6 months. And so he's just been starting to share how he's done that, leading up to a course which I've just invested in for the team. And the thing that impressed me about it was the old Jeff Walker product launch formula thing, and he did it really, really well. The whole point, and Frank Kern talks about this as well, is in your 3 videos before you make your sales video, you give people what's called results in advance. So you give them little snippets of your course that enable them to go out and get a result straight away. And I know that he's been doing that because I've actually watched the video and then gone and done what he suggested. And I've grown my Instagram followers by about 20 or 30 in the last week, with genuine people, just by following some of the tips he's given in these videos. And I just wanted to point that out, that it's a really good way to market your business, is to give people little tips that result in results in advance, because it not only is people love tactics, they love how-to, they love cheat sheets, they love being told exactly what to do. But the thing that results in advance results in is the belief that you can actually do it and it will make a difference. And so I've been trying to get my kids involved in internet marketing for a while now, and because they've been working at minimum wage in pubs and clubs and things, they're now at the age where they're actually really ready to listen. And this Instagram thing has really got them going, because of course they live on Instagram and Snapchat. That's their platform of choice. They're not on Facebook, they're not on Twitter, they're not interested in LinkedIn, they're not interested in Google Plus. So, but what Nathan's done for the people who've been following his launch is give them enough tactics to get some results, which has given them the belief that it can work for them. And I just wanted to highlight that for everyone who's listening. You know, if you're thinking of launching anything, that is a great way to do it. Give people
And
little
do you know where we saw that modelled well?
Go on.
Profit accumulator.
Oh yes, they gave you a trial, didn't they? Which
Gave you a free trial, which made enough money
Yeah.
to pay for your first month's subscription several times over.
Yeah, so people were able to justify it to themselves what they
And
wanted.
also see that it was going to work for them.
Yeah, even me, it worked for me.
It's proof, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's proof.
It is, actually, and it's a lovely way to do it. So Nathan is going to have a $1 million launch on his hands, no trouble at all. I think it might even go more than that, because he's actually also the training course. He's making it as he goes, Judith. He's, you join up now, and your first call isn't for another week or so. So he's actually creating the course after he's sold it, which is another thing we approve of very much.
Yeah, one of those two ladies I just told you about, she's doing that.
Yeah, excellent. So that's us this week.
Indeed.
And we've managed to bring it in under the hour. Always a plus. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And don't forget those reviews. They are incredibly important to me. If not Judith. You'll settle for the clients. I want the reviews.
Okay.
Awesome. Speak to you soon then.
Okay, bye, Don. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.